What's going on everybody, DiGi Valentine here right about now. It's the holiday season, so I suppose it's a better time than any to talk about Christmas Nights into Dreams, specifically some of the things that have been data mined from it. Now, there is some good news and there is some bad news, and I'm going to start with the bad news first, just to get it out of the way. The bad news is, because Christmas Nights is a very small game, not a lot has actually been data mined from it so far. Christmas Nights is practically just a glorified expansion pack to the original SEGA Saturn game, therefore it naturally doesn't have a lot in there. So I just want to curb your expectations slightly, in case you're expecting any world-shattering revelations or, I don't know, Self suddenly turning up underneath the mistletoe to give you a big fat steamy kiss. Sadly, as much as I would like that to happen, it's not happening here. However, the good news is that the discoveries which have been made are definitely worth documenting and talking about. I want to quickly shout out Ketrin for data mining these. She was responsible for finding them, so big ups to her. And to wrap everything up in a nice bow, towards the end of the video I'm going to show you some really strange, never before seen oddities in Christmas Nights when you start messing around with the game's data. I'm actually going to show you how to do this too, so you can try it for yourself, so be sure to stick around and check that out. You'll definitely want to see this. Alright, with all that out of the way, let's dive into it. Completing a single run through Christmas Nights brings us to a mini-game where you have to match two images to unlock an in-game present. These presents could be then accessible from the main menu by selecting the Christmas presents option. These presents can range from art galleries to alternative game modes, including a neat little mode where you can play as Sonic in one of his first ever official 3D representations. Keep the hedgehog in the back of your mind for now, because we'll be talking about him again later. Whenever you're playing the Match a Pair minigame, you're given these boxes on screen, each highlighted by a question mark. In the game's data, there appears to be alternative or beta versions of these boxes that go unused. Each one is blank and lacking any imagery on them. Further data mining found an Exit and Sonic Team logo images which would have fit neatly onto these boxes. It's theorized that these boxes, along with the Exit and Sonic Team images, could have been for a different type of Christmas presents menu, one that was scrapped in favor of the one we see in the final game. The exit sign is self-explanatory, likely being an on-screen button you would press to take you back to the main screen. In the final game, there is no exit button, you just press the B button on your control pad to back out. As for what the Sonic Team image could have been used for is anyone's guess. I'd like to believe it was for a piece of content that was cut from the unlockables, maybe something akin to a behind-the-scenes video from Sonic Team, or some form of developer notes about the game, but honestly, who knows what it would have been used for. Staying with the Christmas presents section, there is an unused background image featuring knights in their Christmas outfit. They are posed in front of a Christmas tree while large snowflakes fall in the background. This unused asset could have been the image that would have appeared as the backdrop during the Match a Pair minigame, or for the Christmas present screen itself, or maybe both even. I do wonder why it went unused. Maybe the screen felt too busy with it there, especially if it was going to include the boxes over the top of it. Or maybe at one point there wasn't even going to be a Match a Pair minigame and this picture was going to be used for a different kind of unlock screen. But ultimately, it's hard to say for sure what it was going to be used for. Still remaining with the Christmas presents section, as I mentioned earlier, one of the types of in-game rewards that you could unlock were galleries showing you a variety of stuff. A particular gallery of interest was the Knights merchandise gallery, displaying all sorts of neat little Knights related knickknacks that were available to purchase in the real world. It would seem a couple of items from the merchandise section go unused. The datamine uncovered the following 3 items that don't appear in the final game's merchandise gallery. They are a sticker, a telephone card provided by the Japanese SEGA Saturn magazine, and a keychain provided by TV Panic Japan. Not only that, but 3 speech bubbles were also data mined that displays text connecting to these items. I'm not entirely sure why these bits of merchandise were omitted from the gallery in the final game, but it is pretty cool that they've been found and we're getting to see them now. Now, so far, this is all that's been data mined from Christmas Nights at the moment. There could be further discoveries in the future, but again, with it being such a small title in the series, I wouldn't hold out hope on our team finding anything major. I have been wrong in the past though, so honestly anything is possible. But just because there haven't been too many discoveries from the Christmas Nights data mine, it doesn't mean there isn't anything else left to talk about. Quite the opposite, in fact. The weird oddities are about to get a little more peculiar from here on out. In the game, the only level you can play is Spring Valley. All the other levels are absent. apart from one: Frozen Bell. Unlocking the Link Attack minigame takes you to the Frozen Bell stage, however you can only run this mode on Frozen Bell's first course. All the other courses for that level are technically inaccessible. One of the earliest discovered oddities for this version of Frozen Bell comes in the form of early previews of Christmas nights appearing in magazines, showing Frozen Bell with a completely different background to the white snowy mountain ranges that is associated with the level. This early version of Christmas Nights' Frozen Bell level shows a glistening nighttime cityscape. Eagle-eyed Nights fans will actually recognize this image, as it's the Twin Seed City background that features on the title screen for Christmas Nights. This means at some point in early development, the Twin Seed City background was the main background for Link Attack mode, despite this mode taking place in Frozen Bell. It's likely that Sonic Team were just using this cityscape image as a placeholder until the Frozen Bell background was put in, but if that were to be the case, I'm wondering why that is. Could it be possible that maybe Link Attack was meant to take place in a completely different location altogether instead of just a reskinned Frozen Bell? It's honestly likely just a placeholder image, and I know I'm overthinking it, but I just find its inclusion here quite strange. Somewhere out there in an early beta build of Christmas Nights, there is a version of Frozen Bell with Twin Seed City as its background. I'd actually really like to see this version of the level running in real time. Hopefully some game preservationist out there has a beta build of Christmas Nights just lying around and eventually dumps it online. That would be a nice Christmas present. The oddities surrounding Frozen Bell don't stop there though, and this topic actually segues us neatly into the final part of this video. This part is by far the largest section I want to talk about. It's going to involve us messing around with the game's data and forcing Christmas Nights to load different scenarios through the use of cheat codes. Now, my understanding of how this works is very limited. As I've stated in previous data mining videos, I'm not really much of a tech person, so I might get some of this information wrong. Apologies in advance. Melodic Warrior from the Knights Discord server had been messing around with the game's memory addresses, and by changing certain values of these addresses, they were able to trigger different gameplay scenarios that weren't intended by the developers. Melodic Warrior then shared these memory address variations with the community in the form of cheat codes. I am now going to not only document these unintended gameplay scenarios, but I am also going to show you how to use these cheat codes yourself, because it's Christmas, innit? Firstly, you'll need a SEGA Saturn emulator. In my personal case, I am using Yabayuze. I think that's how you pronounce it. You'll also need a ROM mounting program. I'm using Datamine Tools Lite for this. And finally, you'll need a ROM of Christmas Nights. I am not going to tell you where to get all of these from, but I'll say that Google is your friend. Just be careful which websites you go to, yeah? Alright. The first part of this tutorial involves you taking your Christmas Nights ROM file and dropping it into your ROM mounting tool. Your PC should create a brand new drive that acts as somewhat of a digital CD drive. Then boot up your emulator, in my case it's Yabayuze. Go to File, select the digital drive that contains the Christmas Nights ROM file, in my case it was the F drive that Datamine Tools created for me, and press the play button. If all goes well, Christmas Nights should load. Pre-warning though, you should probably do this with the sound off. The emulation for this game is pretty good. I mean, it plays very well, but there's a ton of sound corruption, and in most cases it's unplayable with the sound on. So please strongly consider turning off your speakers, or at the least turn the volume all the way down. If Christmas Nights is loading, then congratulations, you're halfway there to messing around with some cheat codes. But first, it's highly recommended that you actually play the game as intended with the cheat codes off, just so that you are able to unlock all the extra features in the Christmas presents section. As I said earlier, these are all unlocked through a match-a-pair minigame that pop up after each successful run through Spring Valley in the main game section. We'll be using some of these unlocked features in conjunction with the cheat codes. Now, a short while ago I was talking about Frozen Bell. I mentioned that in Link Attack you can play in the Frozen Bell stage, but only on the first course. What if I were to tell you that you could force the game to load the entire level? Because with this cheat code you can absolutely do that. To activate this cheat, go to Yabayuze's Tools option, select Cheat List, press the Action Replay button, copy-paste the cheat code into the field provided and press OK. Your code is now active. You can toggle the code on and off by double-clicking on it. If any cheat code doesn't work initially, you might have to reload the game via the reset button. Different emulators offer different menu layouts, so I don't know how to do this in other programs, but I'm presuming it should be pretty straightforward to do either way. Now, in my playthrough of Christmas Nights, I have already unlocked Sonic the Hedgehog Into Dreams. In this mode, you play through Spring Valley before fighting a reskinned Puffy in the form of Dr. Eggman. With the Frozen Bell cheat code activated, when we select Sonic the Hedgehog Into Dreams, it's now forcing the game to load Frozen Bell instead of Spring Valley. The entire level is there, complete with all the courses and the Ideya Orbs that you need to collect from each course. But before we try to complete the level, let's actually have a little look around and see what's out there. The entire level contains the complete Christmas texture reskin, along with snowfall and the unique lighting that occurs when the snow lands on the ground. You can freely walk around the entire stage, with the only inaccessible area being the bobsled section, which is blocked off by an invisible wall. This was actually the same in the final version of the original game anyway, so nothing major to report about that. Oddly, the model and textures for the railway tracks that the train is supposed to drive along don't load, making it look like the train is flying. This is quite a bizarre sight, but considering this game takes place in the world of dreams anyway, it seems oddly fitting, despite being unintended. Another oddity is the fact that all the other Ideya Orbs are actually loaded into the stage, despite us not being on their respective courses at this point in time. The Ideya capture contraptions that they're supposed to be contained in haven't loaded yet, and they will only load once we begin their specific course. Until then, the Ideya Orbs just sit there all pretty and floating in midair. Upon collecting the last Ideya on the final course, if we return to the Ideya Palace to complete the stage, instead of sending us to the boss arena to battle Eggman, we end up looping back around and beginning the level all over again. It would seem that there's no way to fully complete a run within the stage, and you're stuck in a repeating cycle of wintry Christmas hell. Merry Christmas. There is another neat oddity that happens when the game loops back around though. When Sonic initially loads into the level for the first time, he only has the red Ideya Orb on him, as intended. However, after a level loop, the next time you load in, Sonic will naturally have all the Ideya on him from the previous run. It actually looks pretty cool, and I was half expecting all the Ideya to remain on him throughout the level, but then the game suddenly realizes this isn't supposed to be the case, and all the other Ideya Orbs just casually fly away on their own. So far, these are the only oddities I was able to observe from playing as Sonic in Frozen Bell. Let's see what happens if we keep this code active, but then select Claris from the main section of the game. Once again, the entire level loads, complete with all the reskins and oddities we encountered with Sonic. But because we're able to play as knights now, we have some new observations to make. Completing the first course naturally takes knights to the next course and so on. I was actually surprised to see that all the flight path data for Frozen Bell was still intact, and you can fly through this Christmas version of Frozen Bell in its entirety with each course accessible. I would have presumed that to maybe save up some space on the disk, things like unused flight path data might have been removed, but nah, it's all still there. Having access to all these courses actually brings with it some brand new oddities and strange occurrences. Along with the train tracks no longer visually loading, the metal scaffolding bridge doesn't seem to load either. Its collision is still there and knights can still grab onto the beams, spinning around them as intended, but the structure itself is invisible. Also, it would appear that no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't get a good score on any of the other courses. I kept getting F grades despite getting high enough scores to at least get a C. I'm not sure why that is. I'm betting it's down to some sort of programming reason, but regardless, no matter how many links I got or how many items I collected, I kept getting low grades at the end of each course. Also, here's another thing. Now that we're able to, let's take a look at that previously inaccessible bobsled section by going to the final course of the level while dualized with knights. Bloody hell. Upon reaching the last course and sending knights down the bobsled section, I was horrified to see huge portions of the slide tunnel were actually missing, and as knights reached those missing sections, it suddenly propelled knights high into the air. I'm presuming the game's code just didn't know where to place knights in this situation, so it just threw the character high out of bounds. This absolutely creeped me out the first time I saw it. It's also quite difficult to complete this course, considering that a huge portion of the blue chips you're supposed to collect are in the slide tunnel, and since you can't reach most of those parts now, you end up having to try and find blue chips from other parts of the course. I'm not entirely sure why huge chunks of the slide tunnel are missing. I'm guessing it could be a bug, or maybe Sonic Team saving on data, I have no idea, but either way, huge chunks of that slide tunnel are completely gone. One last major oddity I encountered while playing as Knights in this forced version of Frozen Bell is when you complete the level. The same thing occurs as when Sonic does it, with the level looping around. However, there are some new issues. Because we're already dualized with Knights upon the level restarting, we actually have full control over the character and are able to fly away from the Nightmare and minions that attack you. You can't fly for long, however, they still catch your ass. And upon doing so, Knights is briefly then soft locked in this, assumed position. You lose all control of the character and can't do anything. I was about to reset the game when I noticed something. The countdown timer clock was active. This brief soft lock issue is oddly rectified by the inclusion of the timer. Upon looping the level around, the countdown timer is active because we're already dualized with Knights. Once the timer reaches 0, Knights and Claris separate, with Knights being sent back to the Ideya Palace and we are given control of Claris again. If we attempt to force Frozen Bell and select Elliot from the main menu, we get an even more strange thing occur. You see, Elliot's gimmick in Christmas Nights is that he gains access to Spring Valley, which is usually Claris's stage. His version of Spring Valley contains new item placements, but one of the main visual points of interest is the fact that his version of Spring Valley is mirrored. It would seem that Elliot has been programmed to mirror any stage he accesses, because if we force Frozen Bell to load, it actually mirrors Frozen Bell too. This is so bizarre to see because Frozen Bell is Elliot's own stage anyway, so seeing it mirrored from his own perspective is weird and actually quite jarring to play. I mean, I wasn't even sure if I should be flying to the left or to the right. I was so confused by it. Also, this random thing happened the very first time I loaded Frozen Bell as Elliot and ran around instead of just going straight to Knights. I got a game over, despite the alarm clock not even being on screen and me still having complete control over Elliot. No idea what happened there, but it definitely happened. Now, what if we set our sights away from Frozen Bell and looked at some of the other things we can force via the use of cheat codes? What if we were to, let's say, try and load the Eggman boss fight using this code? Well, firstly, we get to play as Knights fighting Eggman, so that's already a strange sight to behold. Selecting Claris from the main menu while this cheat is active will allow the fight to take place as normal, as if you were just fighting Puffy or something, it runs the same. However, you begin the fight with a depleted drill dash meter for some reason, so no 2.0s for you, mate. Before the battle begins, the grading wheel suddenly appears out of nowhere, ranking you all A's but a final overall grade of an F for a level in which you didn't even play. Wicked. Doing this as Elliot naturally mirrors the boss arena, lending to the theory that Elliot himself has been programmed to mirror any level that he enters. I really would have loved it if Christmas Nights contained some of the other levels from the main game too. It would have been interesting to see other levels like Soft Museum from a mirrored perspective as well. Frozen Bell in Christmas Nights is naturally used for link attack mode, so is it possible to swap things around and force the game to load Spring Valley instead of Frozen Bell? Yes, it is. Using this code, you can force the game to load Spring Valley instead of Frozen Bell when selecting Link Attack. It actually functions pretty well, allowing you to play Link Attack within Spring Valley. There's nothing odd to report, at least I didn't find anything strange, but I wanted to document it regardless because you normally can't do Link Attack in this level. Sticking with the Spring Valley code, I decided to force load Spring Valley while selecting Elliot from the main menu, and at first it didn't seem to do anything. It just loaded his version of Spring Valley as normal. However, upon completing the level and getting the level loop again, the countdown timer suddenly went all the way up to 999 seconds for some reason. And if I flew far enough before the minions jumped me, if I happened to land in an area where there was another minion, should that minion attack me, it would actually get me out of the soft lock state, allowing me to do a very long extended run of this course. I'm not sure why you'd want to do a 999 second course run on Elliot's version of this stage, but it's possible now. Oh, and I also crashed the game a few times and seemingly cursed humanity to a fate worse than death. Happy holidays! These were all the strange odd things I was able to encounter while using the cheat codes provided by Melodic Warrior. I am listing the cheat codes on screen, but they're also available in the video description too, so make a copy of those and try them yourself if you like. I'd be interested in seeing what crazy crap people are able to find with these cheat codes activated, so go nuts and knock yourself out. I'd like to thank Ketrin, Bremer, Melodic Warrior and everybody else involved with the NiGHTS Datamine project. Just when I think this series couldn't possibly show me anything else, you lot suddenly pull a couple of rabbits out the hat and I love it. Thank you. To everybody watching this, I hope you have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I've been DiGi Valentine, thanks for your time, take care and stay safe.